Okay, so that was a harder set. Adding the 10 pounds, as minute as that is, it's made a big difference. I felt more activation in the quads, definitely getting a pump. I think that was my third or fourth set. I'm already losing count, but we're going to try to get 10 to 12 sets, kind of like yesterday. We got lots of sets. I'm going slow, controlled. When you squat to the back like this. You stick your butt out like this and try to keep yourself upright as much as possible. And that way you can get a better squat. You never squat over the knees like this. You don't squat like this. You're going to put too much pressure on your knees. I wanted to share about my breakfast today. I made a pretty good dish. I might make it a lot now. Let me see if you can see this. Can you see that? That is what I cook for breakfast. That's a pound of ground beef, 90% lean, grass-fed finished. I got it from Walmart. More people are catching on because every time I go to Walmart now, I can barely find it. Usually I get the 93% lean. What I did is I browned the meat. Then what you do is you take a cut onion and you put it in the pan, try to brown it a little bit. I usually put some salt and pepper, a little bit of cayenne pepper. And then what I do is I push it all to the side in the pan. That way you can that way you can throw some eggs in there. So I do is I throw some eggs in the other side of the pan with a little bit of oil because it already has some fat from the beef, but I also put a little bit of oil in there, like olive oil. And then I cook the eggs like 3/4 of the way. Then I mix everything together. And that's what you come out with. It's really like the contents of a breakfast burrito that you would eat, right? It comes out really good and it has very high in protein. It actually lines up with the way Vince Gironda would advise his trainees to eat. As Vince Gironda would say, his diet would be like this is according to, like I said, Dr. Nash Josick, who is a wealth of information when it comes to like old school bodybuilders and 70s, 80s bodybuilding, Serge Nubret's bodybuilding style and stuff like that. But he says that Vince Gironda used to advise his trainees to eat meat and eggs every meal of the day, 3 times a day, and as much as you want. But the reality is, if you eat that way, you're probably not going to eat that much because it's very filling. And if you put a lot of meat in your system, it actually, you probably need to up the digestive enzymes and stuff that you take because it's hard to digest it, especially if you eat it multiple times a day. You're not used to it. That's what I found. But he said that the third day, the third meal, you just have pasta with some tomato sauce just to replenish your glycogen. But he says mainly you should be eating meat and eggs, combination of meat and eggs. So this happens to fall into that category. And he was advising against zero carbs, but honestly, just because I don't think it's the end of the world, so I'm not trying to like compete or anything, I would probably throw that on a roll, you know. I'm a big fan of Dave's Killer Bread. So get the Dave's Killer Bread roll, throw some of that breakfast, and make it into a breakfast sandwich. Also, you could like take a tortilla and make a breakfast burrito and fill that with the bread and put some salsa in it, put some guacamole in it. But that you're gonna up the calories a little bit. But it depends on how strict you want to be. But throw some salsa in it. That won't add too many calories. Um, Make a nice breakfast burrito using that. I think it's a great idea. Um, the only problem is like every time I go to the store, like the price of eggs is so high. I paying like astronomical amount for eggs because I don't just get cage free eggs. I try to get the pasture raised eggs because those are the better ones because they're grazing and stuff on the grass and the insects and whatnot. It's supposed to be healthier. So, and I do notice like when you crack open a pasture raised egg, a really deep yellow egg yolk color, really delicious, taste a little bit better. For some reason, the other eggs, they taste more almost watered down. It's a weird thing, but they almost taste watered down compared to the pasture raised eggs. But they're so expensive. I mean, paying 10.99 for a dozen and a half of these eggs. What does that come down to per egg? That's like, let me see, dozen and a half. That's 30 eggs divided by, let me see, $11. Let's do it right now. Divided by 30, 36 cents an egg. Imagine you could get an entire dozen eggs back in my grandma's day. And my grandpa used to say he would get eggs for like a quarter, not even a quarter. I think he would buy eggs for a dime. They would send my dad to this corner store to get eggs, and I think they give him like $1, and he would use like a dime for eggs, a dozen eggs. He'd use 15 cents for a gallon of milk or a quart of milk, and some. Back then they used to have Wonder Bread and stuff. I haven't seen Wonder Bread even on the shelves in a long time. But things have gone up in price so much. Why is that? Well, if you don't recall, but recently a bunch of was it chicken farms or chicken farms where they would farm eggs? They were burnt to the ground not too long ago. And they were the headline was like mysterious fires consume multiple chicken farms across America, something like that. But then years later, it would come out. I think the reason might have been the CDC or the FDA was putting pressure on this farmer or something because they were saying that their chickens are contaminated with some kind of disease, which is all bullshit. So that's all just fake. Could have been just, that's an agenda to try to inflate the price of eggs or something. So that's still kind of up in the air. But like, if I were you and I lived in a rural place, just get your own chickens, man. There is a way to. I was looking into this. I just can't where I live because I live too close to my neighbors. But I would definitely have chickens. There's a way to make it where you're not spending any money on feed because you make like a small plot of just to feed the chickens. Like you grow like alfalfas and what have you, different vegetables and things that they eat. Plus, you mix it in with food scraps and kitchen scraps and things that you throw away from the kitchen. And basically, I heard that you can feed your chickens that. It's what the Amish do. And that's plenty for the chickens. They'll produce tons of eggs, you know, got tons of eggshells, so your calcium supplement, right? Tons of your eggshells. Mm. You hear that? Oh yeah. Tastes bad, but free calcium. Let's hit another set, and we'll yap a little bit more about some other stuff. Call in the show 313-591